Midlife doesn't have to be a mystery. So if you've ever felt foggy, anxious, puffy, or like your skin's aging faster than your mindset, this episode is for you because what's happening inside your body is written all over it. Our guest today has spent over 35 years helping women navigate midlife with more clarity, vitality, and confidence. From hormone health to skincare to nutrition that truly supports your season. But before we dive into this episode, you already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, the space where those in survivor mode break free from pain, fatigue, and hormone chaos and finally reclaim their energy and rhythm naturally. It's your anti-inflammatory lifestyle coach, Jovonnie, and I'm here with Alison in the Good Vibe studio.
Well, thank you so much. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Alison, so many women start to feel like their body is betraying them as they enter into their 40s and maybe even a little bit before then. But what has been the moment in your career or personal life when you realized that perimenopause needed to be approached very differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I first started really menopause isn't really spoken about. When I was growing up as a child, I didn't have a clue what menopause was. I'd never heard the word, and I certainly hadn't heard the word perimenopause. I think even now, when I'm talking to women and clients, a lot of people don't understand what perimenopause is. And this is the first stage of menopause before women actually come into menopause. And perimenopause is one of those things that creeps up on you. Life stresses are there. We're all very busy. We've got a lot of work, family, children, all of this piece. So when you start feeling, tired or irritable, or you see changes in your skin, we don't necessarily put it down to the perimenopause. We put it down to life, life in general. So for me, my interest in perimenopause started from a skin point of view initially, because I had acne as a child when I was a teenager, and that led me down like the hormone route. Very interested in hormones, working as an esthetician, particularly with women in perimenopause, because that is the stage where a lot of things start happening. And acne, for example, you can develop. Unfortunately, it's very unfair, isn't it? And a lot of other things can be shown on the skin amongst many other symptoms. So, that's really what triggered my interest in menopause initially.
I know we're going to get more into the conversation when it's like women 40 plus, but I love that you took us back to your childhood with that acne. What could children today, young children, speak to the younger Alison, do to really start shifting their experiences with this acne in their skin, as opposed, like, what could those natural things be that they could do?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's not really spoken about, is it? It's hard enough being a teenager, isn't it, without having, developing acne. And I really can sympathize. I have a lot of empathy for teenagers with acne because of the effect it has on you. So you're very self-conscious. What can you do? What I did, this was quite a few years ago, which was when I look back and think back now.
Only just a few years ago?
Yeah, just a few years ago. But when I think about it, I was quite impressed with myself that I was so interested in finding ways to improve my skin without taking medication. So what I did was I read, then there wasn't as much. It's information overload now, isn't there, on everything? But then there wasn't. But I read what I could find, and I took out sugar, which, we tend to know now, don't we, that sugar can aggravate the skin. It's not really very beneficial for anything. So, and I really looked at what I was eating. I tried to eat more, vegetables and fruits. Got rid of all the junk food that was available then. There wasn't nearly as much then as there is now of processed foods, but there was still, you ate a lot of sweets and chocolate and all of that. So I removed all that. I put in place a skincare routine. So, just using a cleanser, a toner, and moisturizer, etc. So I really looked after my skin, not just washing it with soap and water, and really was very aware, not to put my fingers on it and trying not to, squeeze any inflammation on the skin. And I saw a big difference. I drank more water. I remember that was a big thing as well. Cut out all, I didn't really drink so many fizzy drinks when I was growing up, but there was a lot of like these things that you could add to water, fruit, squashes, etc., that had a lot of sugar in. That's what I did really. And I saw it took time, but I did absolutely see a difference in my skin, quite a big difference.
Thank you for walking us through that, because I never had someone really take the opportunity to deep dive that for teens, young adults, who were really just losing their confidence, their self-esteem, and just really not even loving themselves as much because they feel like their body is taking over control of them, and they have no way of really addressing the acne and the skin issues. And so I love that you said first you took out the sugar, which I think is so hard for a teen to do, a young adult to do, because you have this free will and range, and that's what mostly everybody is eating. So it's hard to do something different when your environment is doing the total opposite. So taking out the sugar, eating more fruits and vegetables, that's something within itself. Some of my students, they are really into fruits and vegetables. They have favorites. Others, they don't typically always eat fruits and vegetables to really know. For me, I had a limited amount of exposure because I was a texture person as a child. Like if I couldn't get with the texture, I'm not eating it. So it might have been just like watermelon, grapes, every now and then some cuties, which are like the smaller oranges, like in the orange family, and maybe some apples, but the apple's not by itself, maybe with some peanut butter or something. So it was very limited amount of fruits until I went off to Costa Rica to study abroad in college. And then that's when the exotic fruits came about, and my host mom was making all of these like fruit juices, like straight from the fruit. I was like, oh my gosh, it's not coming out of a carton or a jug, which I was used to. And so I love that, more real fruits and vegetables, getting away from the junk food. Another hard one, because it's so inexpensive. And as a child, you don't have much money. So you're working with a limited budget of what you're going to buy. And then you talked about that skincare routine. A lot of people only know, well, I'm going to wash my face with soap and water. So you really doing the deeper dive to understand what could I do more than just using the soap and water that I have to better support my face, and then keeping my hands off my face. Like, don't try to pop it. Don't try to move it all around and massage it and do all these other things that can make things worse. And then drinking more water. I didn't drink a lot of water. I still sometimes have an issue drinking a lot of water. I prefer drinking, just H3O is what they call it, straight cold pressed juices from fruits, or maybe like some coconut water. But having to drink more water, like, did you naturally like water, or it was just like, I know these are things that I want to do to help my acne feel better as a teen?
No, I think you're right, really, aren't you? Well, certainly when I was growing up, people didn't drink water like they drink water now. Nobody walked around with loads of like bottles with water in. Nobody did. That was something that came in the like 90s, didn't it? So in answer to your question, no, I didn't really drink very much water. I mean, you would drink, when you had your meals at home with your family, you would have water then, or you'd have some sort of fruit juice or something in the water. But I can remember that I actively thought, okay, I need to drink more water. And yeah, as a teenager, it's quite boring, really. I mean, now I love water. I drink loads of it and think it's great. But then it's a bit boring. It didn't taste of anything. But now I didn't do it then, but you can put fruit, just a piece of fruit in the water. There's so many things that you can do to kind of make it a bit more exciting. But no, as a teenager then I did actually have to really be aware and make myself drink more water.
And I just wanted you to say that out loud, Alison, because I wasn't quite sure. I don't know what your personality was. I do have students now that actually pay for water. Like they would actually buy water if it was offered amongst soda or something like that. There are some that still would choose the water. So I love it. There is a shift towards it now in younger adults and in teens. But I like that you talked about you were being intentional about why you were choosing the water. There was a purpose behind it, not just I wanted something to drink and that was my favorite drink of choice. And that's the reason why I was like, I wonder if this is how she feels. But what are some of those top 3 symptoms women are experiencing in perimenopause, and what's really happening under the surface that's causing their bodies to respond this way?
Top 3 symptoms. I mean, I deal with clients every day that are not just in perimenopause, but women that 40 plus. And what I've seen, I've been working many years in this space, and what I've seen I'd say probably in the last 4 years, that one of the top symptoms that's coming is anxiety. It's the cognitive symptoms, anxiety being a top one, and also focus, forgetting things, more the cognition. That's definitely one of the top symptoms. Weight gain is a very common symptom that women put weight on, particularly around the tummy area, around the middle area. You tend to change shape from a pear to an apple, and you gather your weight around the tummy area, which can be very people get very upset, of course, about it, because it can come on for no reason. Even if you're eating healthily and doing everything that you should be doing, you can develop this kind of fat around the tummy area. And then I would say the third one that I see that really is very difficult for women is lack of sleep, waking up in the middle of the night. And that kind of goes in with night sweats, because one of the reasons you wake up is because you're having these sweats at night. And if you're not sleeping properly, if you're really finding it hard to stay asleep, or quite common is that you wake up in the early hours of the morning. So you might fall to sleep, but then you wake up around 3 a.m. in the morning, and you just can't go back to sleep. And that is so detrimental for health and your life in general, because if you're not sleeping, it affects everything. It just has this knock-on effect, really, for every aspect. And what is perimenopause? Perimenopause is, if you think of, we call kind of the whole transition menopause, but it is a transition, and the first stage is called perimenopause. And this, on average, it does vary depending on what country you're living in, happens around the age of 45. Some women can start with perimenopause earlier or later. So it's very individual. And it's not just, one day, okay, I'm in perimenopause now. It just gradually creeps up on you. And what is happening really is that you're gradually transitioning into menopause, where you have a decline in estrogen and progesterone, the female sex hormones, and then gradually your ovarian function finishes. So all stops. Perimenopause is the beginning of this phase, and you are still fertile and you are still producing estrogen and progesterone, but things start to go a bit haywire. You can actually have a lot of women in perimenopause are estrogen dominant, which means that you have higher levels of estrogen. It's kind of like this mad roller coaster ride where your hormones are all over the place. But gradually, as you come closer to menopause, which on average is the age of 51, your levels decline and decline. And one day you will be in menopause. And menopause is where you haven't menstruated for a year consecutively. So when you haven't had a period for 12 months consecutively, you are then officially in menopause. And all the time after that is what we call postmenopause. And that's the rest of a woman's life. So you don't have ovarian function. You're not producing estrogen and progesterone. And with that comes certain health risks, because we need our hormones, basically. So that's really the whole menopause transition.
I appreciate you breaking that down for us. I was over here taking notes. I don't know if anybody else is taking notes as well, but knowing that perimenopause is the beginning, where you're still pretty much having high estrogen, your ovarian function is still going very well, fertile, very much so still fertile. So for those of you who are reaching the 40s, in the 40s, and you might be thinking, oh, I'm running out of time, there's still time left to be able to conceive. And so I wanted to place just a little hope right there for anyone who might be in their 40s, still haven't had children, because a lot of my guests are people who experience polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis, adenomyosis. Sometimes there's some, how do I say this in the right positive words? Sometimes there's some concern around if they're going to be able to have children naturally, because they're still trying to figure out their hormones, their body's functions, and getting them all in alignment to be able to naturally conceive. And so I'm really glad that you kind of broke that down and let people know what's possible and what's still available. But then to know when menopause is definitely here, there's no period for a year, and there is some decline there in the areas. But something that you said that really stood out for me, Alison, was the fact that there's still life to be lived. And it's really just about understanding what's going on in your body so you know how to properly address it. And the night sweats, like when you were talking about the night sweats and the lack of sleep as one of those signs and what's really happening, and then talking about how beneficial sleep is, I was just like, ooh, that's a good one. Because sometimes people say, oh, well, it's just insomnia, or, it is my anxiety about things in life that just keeps me up, keeps my mind going. I'm unable to really relax. But then to talk about that weight gain, going from the apple to the pear, like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on? I'm seeing the changes. I don't know if I like it or not. And then sometimes that brain fog as well. Can you talk about just some simple ways people can respond to these body messages and signals that they're getting at this particular point in time based on what you just shared?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that you have to do is you have to realize that you are in perimenopause and accept that. And there's so much pressure, isn't there, on women, that we have to do everything, we're the carers, we've got a career, we're no wonder we suffer from stress and anxiety, because we're just trying to do everything at once. And when the perimenopause starts creeping in there, you can, not every woman, but it really can affect you with these symptoms. I mentioned 3, but there's many different other symptoms that can just gradually creep up on you. And the first thing I would say is that realize that there's nothing wrong with that you are in perimenopause, and then either look for someone for support that can help you through this transition, talk to your healthcare provider, and then focus on whatever your symptom is, focus on how you can support yourself through that. Things like night sweats. If you're having night sweats, they're basically hot flashes that you have at night, and it can be terrible because it keeps you awake. When talking about nutrition, and there's a lot of research to say this, that if you eat a diet that is heavily processed foods, refined, ultra processed foods, that it can make your experience of these symptoms worse, in particular the hot flashes. So really looking at what you're eating. some people, not all women, but some people find that eating like spicy foods can make hot flashes worse. It's quite individual, you know, if you like a lot of chili and things on your foods, but you should just be mindful of that and really think, okay, is that triggering my hot flashes? Alcohol really, what I say to them is it's not the friend of a menopausal woman. It's not just the fact that it can trigger hot flashes and make night sweats worse. It basically just, you know, it affects your sleep. It stops you from sleeping, or you wake up in early hours in the morning. Even more so if you've been drinking. It can contribute to weight gain. It can make your anxiety worse. So unfortunately, there aren't many benefits to alcohol for a woman that's going through menopause. And, you know, even from a social aspect, even if you just have a glass of wine, you know, it affects you. I really myself like a glass of wine, but I can't do it anymore. It's not worth how it makes me feel. So I actually really don't hardly drink anymore, and I feel so much better now. I'm in this phase of life, and I hear that from so many of my friends and clients, that once they've actually stopped, they say, oh, I just feel so much better. I don't enjoy it like I used to. So eating whole foods, you know, vegetables, lots of fiber, really looking at how you can improve your sleep, thinking about sleep hygiene, you know, all of these things can really benefit and help to support you through this transition.
Thank you for walking us down that path, that journey, and that explanation, Alison. So, if you are tired of reading every label at the grocery store just to end up with a plant based product that still leaves you bloated, sluggish, or stuck in inflammation, then get the plant based alternative guide, because it makes it easy for you to understand what you're getting. Inside, I share the go-to swaps for everyday foods, from sauces to snacks that support hormone health, reduce inflammation, and still taste good. Want to know where you're getting your vitamins and nutrients from? Check it out. You get options for grains, fruits, vegetables, protein sources, and then you get a lot of recipes to inspire you on the go. Grab your plant-based alternative guide. The link is in the show notes, or you can go over to forwardvibrations.com. It's time to upgrade your plate as well as your confidence. So, Alison, you talked about owning the stage you're in. So those of us that are in that perimenopause stage, own that peri, and just know how you're going to honor your body and take control over it by knowing what are those symptoms. Focus on the symptoms and get that support management. Find a support system within your healthcare, or those who really are wanting to wrap around you in a natural sense of way, because you want to see, okay, how can I better support myself with the foods that I'm eating or how I'm drinking? Is it helping me or is it hurting me? You just talked about what alcohol is doing. There's not a lot of benefits with the alcohol when it goes when you're taking an account of your body. Maybe it's a social thing. Maybe you're trying to mask some other things that are happening, and that's your drink of choice. Who knows why you're choosing the alcohol? But if you're going through that perimenopause stage, and menopause is like, hold on, this really isn't the drink of choice, maybe tune in and turn up a little bit more of that water, or if you want a little bit more flavor, some juices. But there's other things that you could potentially consume. But knowing that alcohol could be causing your weight gain, could be increasing your anxiety, and also affect your sleep. How is the alcohol serving you right now in regards to what your body is going through? And then talking about the heavy processed foods. When you talked about the spicy foods, Alison, I automatically sweat trying to digest the spicy foods with, with just it being hot and all the different herbs and spices coming in. I'm not a spicy food eater, so it's natural. I don't even know if it's a hot flash or just me trying to survive the spicy food. But that's something that stood out to me in regards to that. But let's talk a little bit about Why the skin is one of the first and most understood places that hormone imbalance actually starts to show up.
Yeah, the skin, okay, if we look at it as this, the skin is our largest organ in the body, and estrogen and progesterone, which we call female sex hormones, but they are way more than that. I mean, estrogen and progesterone are actually needed for virtually every bodily system. We have what we call receptors in our body, hormone receptors. And when you think of a hormone, what is a hormone? It's a chemical messenger. So you have these receptors virtually everywhere and in your skin. And what a receptor is doing, it's waiting for the hormone to come in and lock onto the receptor and relay a message of whatever, this estrogen or progesterone wants to happen in the skin. But when you're going through perimenopause and menopause, particularly when you've got lower levels of these hormones and they eventually, decline considerably, the skin isn't getting that. It's not getting the hormones it needs. The receptors are waiting for them and they never come. And this, in turn, can have a big effect on the skin health, on the collagen production in the skin. And also what we can't forget is that we do also have the aging process going on, as well. Okay, that menopause is there, but you've also got the aging process, which we see in the skin and the other bodily systems. We lose quite a large percentage of collagen in our skin in the first few years of menopause, and then it gradually declines. And collagen and elastin are what really give our skin that nice plump, like glowing look. And there's many things that you can do. You can use products. You can try to eat more foods that contain collagen. You can take collagen supplements, but you do lose that kind of firmness to the skin. And then there's other things that can happen in the skin due to the lack of these hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And that, for example, is something, there's something called hyaluronic acid, which is produced naturally in the skin. And this is just amazing because it really is moisture. It keeps the skin lovely and moist. A lot of products have that in as an ingredient, hyaluronic acid, because it just binds water and it really, really hydrates the skin. But estrogen is needed for the synthesis, amongst other things, of hyaluronic acid. So a lot of women find that their skin becomes much drier. It can become quite irritated. You can find that you become, you suddenly sensitive to products or foods or certain, materials or washing up, that you wash your clothes with that you weren't before. Because the skin can become thinner, becomes more irritated, becomes drier. Another thing that also kind of creeps up on you and you start seeing as you get older is pigmentation on the skin. The darker, what we call hyperpigmentation, darker pigmentation areas around the skin. This really, if you're a sun worshipper when you were younger, you can get away with it then. But as you get older, that's when you start seeing, I see with a lot of clients that they have pigmentation due to a lot of sun exposure, but they might not have seen it then, but it appears in later life. So pigmentation. And then another thing which can be very distressing for women is that they can grow facial hair. So you can get on the chin area, on the upper lip, and you lose hair on your head. So, I mean, it's all very unfair, isn't it? You get hair where you don't want it and you lose it where you do. And again, the facial hair growth, this is to do with the hormones, the shift in hormones in perimenopause and the menopause transition. We haven't actually spoken about testosterone. Testosterone doesn't really have anything to do with menopause, but it is a hormone that is needed for women. We tend to relate it more to men, but testosterone can become, because of the imbalance in all the hormones, can become dominant during this transition, and this can stimulate hair growth. If you have higher levels of testosterone, you do tend to, you can get like these whiskers coming out of your chin or upper lip.
So I've experienced that, like high school, college, like all of that, like the facial hair. And I used to think that it was just like something that people in my family had. I even had someone after grad school say like they've never seen so many women in the South. I'm here in the US with like facial hair. And I was just like, oh, really? Like I just thought that some women just had it, like people in my family had it. And that was actually one of the signs or symptoms of my polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. In addition to that, I didn't always have regular periods every month. So like sometimes I'll skip a month. One time I skipped 3 months and I'm like, well, where's my period? And, when I would ask my mom or ask other people, they'd always find a reason why it was okay that I missed the period, that I never talked to, healthcare professionals about missing them. But it just so happens that I guess when I will go and have like a doctor's appointment or my annual, they'll ask, when was your last period? And of course it wasn't 3 months ago, and even if it was, I don't know what they would have said if they would have, had more conversation around it. But when you talked about the facial hair, is there certain things that people could do to reduce it? I know there's some things I've done, but I want to hear from you, Alison. What are some ways that you can reduce that unwanted facial hair? And then I kind of had a question about the collagen food. What are some collagen rich foods that people can actually start to think about getting in, so then that way they're not lacking that good stuff they need for their skin?
Yeah. Facial hair, I'm actually an esthetician as well, so I understand about all aesthetic treatments. There's so many fantastic treatments now to remove facial hair, in particular laser treatments, because laser, you might need more than one treatment, but it's permanent, so it will get rid of the hair permanently. There is epilation as well, where you use it's very, very fine needle, and you go into each hair follicle and you kind of cauterize the hair. But this again, you would need a few treatments. Laser treatment is very effective. The laser machines have really developed over the years. Used to be restricted depending on the hair color and the skin. If there was a lot of pigmentation in the skin, you were restricted over lasers, but they've developed it so much more now. So what I would say to every woman is, please don't suffer with this, because it can knock your confidence, can't it, if you've got facial hair. If you just have the odd one, then of course you can just pluck it. But what I would say as an esthetician, that don't start plucking or shaving, because plucking basically will stimulate hair growth, because you're pulling the hair out. It will just grow back, and it can actually sometimes grow back stronger. And shaving, you'll find that you can damage the skin, and you will get, it comes back like on a man, it comes back as quite rough. And go and get some laser treatment. Go to a professional, registered esthetician and talk to them and get the correct treatment for you.
So I have a question, because that was my method. Like growing up, it was just like finding that trusted family member or friend to just lay down and let them get to plucking. I had no idea that you shouldn't pluck, and that pluck was just stimulating more hair growth. But then I went into like waxing, because it just felt like it was a easier session to have with estheticians. And then I know like laser could be very costly, depending on how that treatment goes. And so I was just like, and I know my mom has done it before, but like you said, you might have to have several rounds of it and go back. And then after a while, that wasn't, something that she sustained, because it could be a financial thing, or it could just be I don't want to keep going back to doing that. And so I just really like that you had this conversation, because to my PCOS posse, my polycystic ovarian syndrome sisters, I'm glad that you're having this conversation to be able to understand what's really happening. And then some people just let it grow, just let it be natural, don't mess with it, and just embrace it. And that's okay too, because it's still naturally you. Like, you don't necessarily have to do anything to it, unless it's really getting at your self-esteem or your confidence and not making you love yourself as much. And just to those of you who are not as educated about what's going on, you just heard a nutritional therapist tell you the things that you can do to address it. But there's not necessarily a go-to cure for the facial hair. You can reduce the processed foods that you're having. You can reduce the dairy. I've heard people increase the spearmint tea or the green tea to help with the getting in the zinc, and different things to help your body really just fight for it. For me, it was movement. It was getting in miles with walking, whole plant-based food. Sometimes I was even on a raw plant-based journey for 220 days. I saw a major decrease in my unwanted facial hair areas. And now, just, you call them whiskers, but like a few will still come back, over time. But I used to needed to have that appointment every 4 weeks. And that is not the case because of my lifestyle changes that I have been making. So I just wanted to be able to put that in there, especially since you brought it out, Miss Alison. But I love that you talked about that. I think you called it the hydrochloric acid, that HCA,
Yes.
that really helps your skin get and stay moisturized. And so a lot of times I think people think, oh, I have to moisturize my skin, I have to put something on it, versus what am I putting in to my mouth that's allowing me and my body to have that natural moisturization. So I'm really glad that you talked about the HCA and the importance of it, and why it's keeping you really in sync and giving the body the natural moisturization that it needs. But I really want to talk about the collagen-rich foods. What are some of those collagen-rich foods? And then go into, how do we start identifying our skin types, and how do you help us with that?
Yeah, collagen is quite interesting, because there is a lot of research now on, because I get asked all the time about collagen supplements, the collagen powder.
Yeah.
Because
That's
collagen
all I've seen is the powder.
Yeah, collagen, it comes from animals, so if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you're not going to be able to eat it or use the supplements. There are supplements or certain foods that they kind of boost the synthesis of collagen, which can be very beneficial. But bovine collagen, which in supplement form comes from animals, comes from cows. A good source of collagen is a bone broth. But that's a very nice form of collagen. Also, like the fish on, the skin on fish. But like I say, if you're not a meat eater, what I would focus on is eating nutrients that help to boost collagen. One in particular is vitamin C. Vitamin C is really needed for the synthesis of collagen. Eating lots of products that are rich, a rainbow of colors is very beneficial, because you're getting all these wonderful nutrients, including vitamin C, what we call like an antioxidant diet, foods that are antioxidants. They stop the damage happening in your skin. Very similar to what you were saying earlier about inflammation. Having an anti-inflammatory diet is full of antioxidants that really help to boost the skin, help to boost collagen production. You can get supplements for collagen. What I would say is, if you're going to take a collagen supplement, it is again from bovine, or there are marine supplements from fish. it's collagen. It comes from animals. So if you're buying a product that says it's collagen and it's not from an animal, then I would question that, because I don't quite understand how that. There's so many supplements out there that the quality varies considerably. So really making sure that you have a good quality collagen supplement. And there is a lot of research coming out now saying that it is beneficial. If you find that you can't eat enough of these collagen rich foods, then it's actually okay to take a supplement, not only just for skin health, but predominantly the research shows that it's good for like joint health, for our ligaments, for because that's another symptom in perimenopause and menopause, is kind of aches and pains in your joints. So it can be beneficial for that. But it's like anything with supplementation, just always check that it's good quality. If you're on any other medications, just check that there's no interactions with that. I'm very cautious of supplements as a nutritional therapist, because they need to be respected, but even though they're not regulated, I live in Europe, they're not regulated in the same way that medication is. They can, they're quite potent and can have effects, particularly if you're taking medication.
Thank you. I appreciate you breaking that down, Alison. First of all, so those of you that are meat eaters, consume meat eaters, or you don't mind getting in the collagen-rich foods, bone broth, and then the skin of fish. But for those that are on a plant-based lifestyle, getting vitamin C in, which if you get the plant-based alternative guide, you can find some of those foods that have vitamin C. If you're just like, I don't know where to get that vitamin C from, even from drinks and teas. But also a rainbow rich of colors means that it could be, and most importantly, be antioxidant rich. So making sure that you're getting in all those colors so they look good and colorful, and then they also feel good and give your body what you need. But I also love, Alison, that you broke down the aches and pains, and realizing that joint health is also a part of this journey. And it's not just, oh, maybe you moved too much yesterday and now you're just sore from that. Like, no, this could be your body going through these different changes. And so I'm really glad that you brought that in to the conversation, because it could have been something nobody even thought about, because they're not sure about what's really happening in their body right now as they're going through these changes and these phases. So I really appreciate it. You talked about skin isn't about just the face. Can you expand on body brushing, detox rituals, or cellulite care that actually support circulation and lymph?
Yeah, we tend to forget, don't we? We look from here upwards, the neck upwards, and we buy all these wonderful products and think of it. But the skin covers your whole body. It's quite interesting. I've worked in France as an esthetician, and for different roles, and when they're doing treatments there, so when you're having aesthetic treatments in France, a facial basically is the whole of the décolletage area, sometimes the bust, so the décolletage up to the face. Whereas in some countries, a facial is, you don't really go down onto the décolletage area. A lot of women when they apply their products, they apply them to the face, and to the décolletage area. So the body is very important, the skin there. We shouldn't forget it. One of the simple things that you can do is you exfoliate the skin. If you maybe don't exfoliate the face, but you can start doing that. And when I say exfoliating, it's like using a peel, a body scrub, to remove dead skin cells. And why do we want to do that? We want to do that to basically, they're dead. We don't want them there. We want the skin to be fresh. We want cell renewal. Whereas if you remove the dead skin cells, your skin cells are in layers, it helps to stimulate the skin so your skin becomes fresher and more vibrant. And you need to do that on your body as well. And there's many wonderful body peeling products that contain salts or, small seeds or whatever that peels the skin. One thing in particular that I really like is dry body brushing. I really see a difference in that. And it's so easy because you can just do it before you get in the shower, in the morning or in the evening. And all you need is just a brush. They're very easy to find, just a dry body brush. And you basically just go over the whole body in circular movements. You can work more on, the thighs if you've got cellulite on the buttocks, any area that you feel, needs a bit more stimulation. Because not only does it get rid of dead skin cells, it also helps to stimulate the circulation. So it has an effect. And there's actually some quite interesting research to say that, in conjunction with other things, dry body brushing can help us to detoxify the body, because your skin is an organ of detoxification as well. So once we get rid of all the dead skin cells and we stimulate the skin, that can really help with detoxification. So dry body brushing. And then once you've peeled the skin, if dry brushing you can do every day if you want, but twice a week, 2-3 times a week is enough. And then applying a moisturizer. So, a nice body lotion to the skin when you've showered. If you do it in the morning when you come out, this one's, if you say, I haven't got enough time, there's so many wonderful products now. There's actually sprays that you can buy. If you haven't got time to put a body lotion, you can just basically spray this mist over your body and it moisturizes. So there's many good products that you can apply very, very quickly. Yeah, and then avoid. We haven't spoken about the sun, have we? But thinking about, when we think of sun protection, we tend to think mainly of the face, but you need to protect the body as well with a good high SPF sunscreen.
I like it. Thank you. So if you didn't catch this because you're driving and you're riding, exfoliate the skin was number 1. Get a good body scrub. And then number 2, dry brushing. Type brush in the comments and I'll send you a link to a dry brush in the event that you don't know what she's talking about, what's going on, but you're okay with brushing. You're like, okay, I can brush my hair, I can brush my dog, but okay, I see in here now the importance of brushing my skin, because it is really helping with the dead skin cells. It's detoxifying to the body. And I should do this about 2 to 3 times a week. So I need to get my brush on. Drop brush in the comments. And then body moisturizers. If you don't got the time, Alison just told you can get you a good spray, a nice spray to also help you with the moisturization process. So you get in what your body needs, even if you're limited on time. But most importantly, making sure that you have some type of SPF factor. I think she was talking before about at least 30, but the higher you can go, it is good to get that sun protection formula that is inside of the product to really help you go throughout the day and protect your skin. So I really appreciate that, Alison. Thank you for breaking that down. All right, y'all. So if you've been pushing through pain, wondering why nothing is working or why your energy is always low, then this message is for you. Inside of my Heal Method training, I break down the 4-step lifestyle shift that helped me go from surviving stage 4 endometriosis and hormonal chaos to reclaiming my energy, my peace, and most importantly, aligning naturally. So if you want to attend and get educated and empowered, click the link in the show notes and register for the next training. So Alison, we talked about a routine, so to speak, in regards to how to care for your skin, what's happening to your skin, how to show up and love you. You say you need to look at the whole person, mindset, sleep, gut, stress, skincare, not just the hormones. Why is this so important for real, sustainable healing?
You can't individualize parts of the body. You are one unit, aren't you? All systems, it all works together. Trying to just say, I'm just going to focus on this now, or everything that you do to your body has a knock-on effect, whether you're doing something negative or hopefully you're doing something positive. So you really have to think of your body as to balance everything. you need to look at your nutrition. You need to think about what you're using on your skin. You sleep, finding stress management techniques, and all of this makes you feel great. But if you're only really focusing on one area, it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. You need to get all the pieces in place for wellness, to feel well. If you're doing everything right, but you're not sleeping, you're not, there's going to be, you're not going to be feeling great, even if you're eating great and exercising. But if you're really having trouble sleeping, there's going to be a piece missing there. So you really have to think about doing things for your whole body wellness.
I love that. And I'm glad that you said you have a whole self. You are a whole body, even with just focusing on one aspect of it. Everything you do has an effect, whether it be helping or hurting, whether it be positive or negative. And I think once you know how much each decision you make shapes your future self, shapes your present self, shapes how you're able to navigate moment after moment, that right there is enough to shift your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs around your lifestyle and the habits that you have. And I think sometimes, Alison, we don't realize the survival mode cycles that we live in that's actually causing us more harm than it is more help. And I think once we really start getting in a place of reflection, we slow down and we really start looking at our looking at our habits, looking at our lifestyles. That's when we can start to be more aware of what we can change, what we can shift, and how to prioritize taking care of ourselves or pour into ourselves more in ways that we have never done before, because it's not something that has always been taught or naturally put out there to show you in a simplified way. And so I really love that you're talking these things, but to the listener who might be overwhelmed by the idea of doing all the things all the time to take care of themselves, where can she start? Where can they start?
Start small. Small steps lead to big results. And when I say small, it can be something really like small. It's about making habits, isn't it? It's about changing habits, but getting them to stick. If you try to overhaul everything, think, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to overhaul everything, it's not going to work, because the majority of the time you'll try and you'll probably give it a really good go and you'll be motivated initially, but then after a few weeks you'll think, oh, this is too much like hard work, and then you just drift back into your old habits. Something as simple as increasing your water intake. Have a jug in the fridge. If you're not drinking a lot of water, just increase it gradually. Don't suddenly go from drinking 2 glasses to 8, because you probably find that you go to the toilet the whole day. But just gradually add 1 more glass of water to your day for the first week, and then the second week add 2. Just small things. Don't try and do everything at once. Adding water is a great thing, because that gives very quick results. It makes you feel better quite quickly. And then moving. I mean, we haven't really spoken about exercise, have we? But it is so crucial that you move your body. Movement. It doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym for 2 hours every day. It's finding something where you're moving that you enjoy, whether it's walking, going for a bike ride, swimming, whatever, as long as you're actually moving. And for some people, maybe, that seems, oh, I can't do that. Do 5 minutes. Get up, walk around your garden. If you've got a garden, walk down to the end of the street and back. Do that for a week. And then go a little bit further. And I've seen this in action. I've seen, with clients that I've had that haven't been doing these things. If you introduce it gradually, it works and you feel better. And when you feel better, you're motivated to do more. So drinking water, doing some sort of movement, not sitting all day. If you're sat at a desk working, try to stand up and just move around throughout the day in between meetings or you know, whatever you're doing. And then the third thing, now this is quite a big one, and I appreciate this is not easy, but reduce processed foods. When I say processed foods, I mean foods that come in a package, foods that contain a list of ingredients that you probably don't even know what it is. It's some big long chemical name. Your body, you shouldn't be eating those things. Our bodies weren't designed to eat foods like that. And we are seeing now in the health of the world how this toxic food environment that we're living in, how it's affecting our health. So one thing that you could do that gives a huge result is to reduce packaged foods, buy whole foods and cook at home.
I love it. Thank you. I hope that helps you not feel so overwhelmed. Biggest statement: small steps lead to big results, y'all. It is all about adopting habits that align with your life, that are helping and supporting you live a more vibrant you, one that's reducing your pain, one that is silencing that hormonal chaos, no matter what stage your body is in right now. Increase the water. Get to moving and grooving in your own fun way. If that's scuba diving, which I didn't hear, or swimming, if it's just walking down the street, get to moving and grooving. Slow, small increments, and then build as you start to really fall in love with this journey, because that's what it's all about. When you start healing and living with intention, you start to fall back in love with caring for you and loving you, because you realize what you deserve: better choices, better habits, a more vibrant lifestyle, going after the things that you deserve and desire. And you start reducing all of those signals and those messages that your body was telling you that you felt like you were neglecting in that whole self. They start saying, okay, you got me, you listening, and it starts to turn down and you start to feel a whole lot better. But then realizing processed foods is something you need to reduce. All right. If you can get rid of it all at once, one time, take the journey. It could take a week, a month, years. Like, you don't have to box yourself in. Maybe have it occasionally, but really focus on getting the processed foods out of your lifestyle, with all of these different additive ingredients and additives and stuff in the food that's not serving your body and working against you. Be mindful of those things. Check the nutritional label or go get the plant-based alternative guide, so you have something that's guiding you through your decision making when it comes to that. Alison, for the women and people listening who feel like their body is changing faster than she can keep up with it, what would you say to remind her that her healing is still within reach?
Yeah, just the first thing I would say to that lady is, okay, just sit down or stand up wherever you are and just take a deep breath. Just calmly take a deep breath in, because that helps to calm you down and reset your nervous system. And understand that there's support out there, there's help out there. Talk to your girlfriends. Don't try and do it alone. This is a transition that every single woman in the world will go through. You have to remember that the menopause and, you know, going through perimenopause, it's a natural transition. It's not an illness. It's not a disease. This is how our bodies as women were made. And nature is a very powerful thing. So don't try to fight it. And that I think is quite a strong statement, because I've seen that in so many women, that, you know, we try and fight it and we think we want, you know, because it's a very ageism society we live in, isn't it? We don't want to age. We don't want to go through menopause. We still have to be like we were when we were 25, 30. That isn't realistic. Embrace this stage. Embrace how fantastic you are, and just find ways to support yourself. But don't struggle, because there is so much help out there. Reach out to your healthcare provider. Talk to your girlfriends how you're feeling. You know, talk to your partner. Don't do it alone. But, you know, just be nice to yourself. Give yourself a hug.
All right, I love it. I absolutely love it. That was really good. Be nice to yourself, be graceful to yourself, embrace the journey, but do not struggle in silence. Get the support. Find who is energetically attracting to you, or you see their lifestyle and you're like, "Ooh, I like that she's doing this, or she's eating these things. I like these things. Let me try it." Find the support that aligns with you, that you feel like would be beneficial for you. And if it doesn't work, guess what? That's not the end of the world. Find someone else or find a different method. What you don't want to do is look at someone else's plan that they've created for their life and think that needs to be yours. No, embrace the journey of what is yours. The whole reason why we have these conversations on the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast is for you to get curious, for you to get empowered, to own your healing journey, to do what you think is best. But it starts by taking action and making decisions that are different than what you're doing, so you get a different result and you feel better and you thrive. So here we go, Alison. A vibe quick fire round. All right. One word to describe midlife in its most empowered form.
Most empowered form.
One word.
I would say empowering, but then
Let's go with it. I'm all right with that.
Empowering, yeah.
A food trend that needs to go.
There's three, I'll tell you what it's called, the three bite trend.
Okay.
I actually wrote an article about this yesterday. It's on this is me talking as a nutritional therapist. It's on TikTok, and it's called just three bites or three bites. It's basically predominantly unhealthy food, junk food, fast food, and you're allowed to take 3 bites of it to satisfy your cravings or whatever, and then you throw the rest away. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not what I agree with, but that is
to go according to Alison. No to the 3 bite trends. All right, your desert island skincare product.
These are great questions. I would take with me on a desert island. I have to think now. Okay, there's a lot of sun going on there, isn't there? It would have to be a sunscreen. I would use what sunscreen would I use? There's so many wonderful products. I would use Neurostrata, which is a wonderful product. They have a wonderful day cream that's got high SPF in. I would take that with me.
Okay. All right. The most misunderstood hormone in midlife.
Testosterone.
All right. Tea or coffee, and why?
Tea, absolutely. I'm British. British people drink loads of tea. I don't drink coffee. I love tea. I drink a lot of green tea and all different odds of tea. It's my Britishness.
Gotcha. I don't like coffee. The one mindset shift that changes everything.
Having a positive outlook on life.
All right. Last 2 questions, Alison. Give some advice to the girl dads, the male father figures, role models, partners and spouses of those who have pelvic pain, heavy periods, infertility issues. How do you see them being a part of the conversation and the support system of these women?
Very important, and I can understand how that dynamics can sometimes be difficult, can't they, for men, because they don't understand. I see that a lot with menopause and women's partners, etc. I would just ask nicely, how can I support you? Please explain to me what you're going through, because I don't understand. You obviously have to be, a man has to be careful in the way that they word these things to women, because women can be quite sensitive, can't we? But just saying, I'm here for you, I want to support you, please tell me what is going on so I understand and what I can do to make you feel better. I think you just have to be open and honest.
I like that. Ask, how can I better support? Explain what's going on. Let me know how I can support you. That was good. Thank you. All right, last question, Alison. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Yeah. Somebody that's dead. Or does
Doesn't
it have
have
to
to
be?
be. I did not say deceased. I said
I
any
would love
historical figure. We're making history right now with this podcast episode. So any historical figure, what would
historical
y'all
figure. I think it would have to be Queen Elizabeth, the wonderful Queen. And what would we eat? I think I would like to eat. That's something I miss not living in the UK. Is a proper like roast, a roast dinner with vegetables and I do eat meat, so you know, some sort of roast meat and all the trimmings.
Got it. Roasted meat with veggies with Queen Elizabeth. All right, Alison.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, what you have for them, how they connect with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. One thing that is very exciting that I know I was talking to you earlier about is that I've written a book and it's being launched this Monday, so the 4th of August. So anybody that was interested in that can go to my website. The best place to really contact me is, or see more or learn more about me, is through my website, which is alisonbladh.com. In that website, there is a link to purchase the book, and the book is called Have a Magnificent Menopause, a straightforward guide to looking good and feeling great, full of practical information on what you need to do. Because when I was researching for the book, virtually every woman I spoke to said to me, just tell me what I need to do. I don't need loads and loads of text explaining it in academic language. Just tell me what I need to do. And that very much is what the book is about. I'm also on virtually every social media platform. My Instagram is at Alison Bladh. So you can find me and follow my work on any of those platforms.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for being a magnificent guest on the Empire Plates, Empire Labs podcast. Y'all check the show notes for the website so you can make sure you grab that book and connect with Alison. So if you've been listening and you're thinking, that's me, I'm tired of guessing, tired of pushing through the pain, and I know I need something deeper than symptom managements for the bloating, the fatigue, the pelvic pain. Y'all, that is why I created my coaching framework, the M to the third degree healing empowerment formula, mindset, mindful eating, and movement. It's the approach that allowed me to go from surviving stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, and 2 fibroids at the time of my surgery to reclaiming my energy, healing my cycle, and finally living in alignment. So if you are ready to start that healing journey yourself, hit the show notes to get some good vibes and value. Register for the next training. Grab a digital resource. But most importantly, remember, heal daily, thrive always. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.